Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over my graphic settings in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now I'm on PC of course. If you're on console you probably don't have graphic settings, at least not the extent that PC probably does. I want to preface this video by saying I'm doing this because people have asked me to show off my graphic settings. This is not necessarily a guide for everyone on Earth to follow to make their graphic settings. I made a graphic settings video a little while ago and it did really well for some reason, and for some reason it became the authority on graphic settings in Grand Theft Auto Online, which wasn't really my intention. Literally somebody just asked me to show off my settings and I did, and the video has like almost 70,000 views right now, so I was not intending for that to really happen. But today, I figured we would go in again and have another look at my graphic settings. I also want to preface this by saying I'm not a fucking nerd. I don't know what all of the graphics settings, and like if you do know what all of these do, don't get me wrong, you're not necessarily a nerd. But if you comment on my video and write literal essays about how I'm wrong about every single little thing, then I'm sorry to say it, but you are a fucking nerd. So anyways, let's get into my graphic settings. I'm going to show you guys this real quick. So guys, under graphics, I have used 3679 megabytes out of my available 8191. I have an RTX 2070 Super and a Ryzen 3700X processor. It is overclocked, I will say that as well. And I also have 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. Moving down here, my screen type, obviously I go full screen. Resolution, 1920 by 1080. Aspect ratio is auto. My refresh rate is 144 Hz because I have a 144 Hz monitor. The refresh rate is the thing that allows you to see your FPS. So say your computer is making 200 FPS, but you have a 60 Hz monitor, you will only be able to physically see with your own two eyes 60 Hz. So the higher the Hertz, technically is better, but it really only matters if your computer is actually making up to that refresh rate, which my computer doesn't make 144 FPS on GTA. It usually hovers between 70 and 100, I would say, on the settings that I currently have. So 144 Hz isn't absolutely necessary for me, however, I like to have it. So there you go. Moving into the actual graphic settings, I have FXAA turned off. I have my MSAA on 4 times, NVIDIA TXAA off. I have VSync off. Pause game on focus loss, I have that on. I honestly don't know what that does. Now, I believe these 3 settings are all for single player. The population density, population variety, and the distance scaling, I believe those only take effect on single player. Population density refers to the amount of civilians, the amount of civilian cars, that sort of thing. The variety is the amount of different types of cars that you will see on the road. You know how in online sometimes we get spawn sets with, say, Gallivant Ballers and Canis Seminoles? Well, this will change that in single player to be, you know, a little bit more diverse. Distance scaling, I believe, is just your render distance sort of thing, or how well you can see very distant objects. I believe this only has effect in single player. I could be wrong. It could be in online as well. Either way, I have mine maxed out. Now into the actual graphic settings here, I have my texture quality on very high, which is the max that you can have. I have my shader quality on very high as well. Shadow quality on very high as well. Reflection on ultra. Reflection MSAA, I have that on 2 times. My water quality is on high. My particles quality is on high. My grass quality is on high. I could go very high, however, grass quality mixed with shaders and shadows, I have noticed, will absolutely destroy my PC. This is just speaking for me personally. If you have an RTX 3090, you'll probably be fine. It does affect your FPS quite negatively, I find, for my PC, and if you have a PC that's a little bit lower end than mine, you will probably struggle to have your grass quality on like very high with high shader quality and high shadow quality. This really only matters if you're actually out in a field where there's a ton of grass. Like if you're out in the mountains in GTA where there's like a ton of different grass to be rendered by your computer, then grass quality mixed with the 2 shaders will definitely negatively impact your PC, let's say. Soft shadows, I have that on NVIDIA PCSS. Post effects I have on very high. I could turn this off, but I personally kind of like how it makes my game look. Obviously it's completely up to you. It basically just puts like almost, I don't know how to describe, like a film sort of texture or something like that on your game. At least that's what I believe it does. I could be wrong. Again, there's probably some nerd that will comment down below and let me know that I'm an idiot and actually it does that. whatever. Motion blur, I have that all the way off because I hate motion blur. Next up, in-game depth of field effects, I have that on. Anti-softronic filtering, I have that on 16 times. Ambient occlusion, I have that on high, and tessellation I have on very high. Moving on to the advanced graphics settings, I have long shadows turned on. I have high resolution shadows, high detail streaming while flying, extended distance scaling, and extended shadow distance, I have that turned all the way off. Frame scaling mode, I have turned off as well. So guys, those are my graphic settings in Grand Theft Auto Online. Hopefully this can help you out. These are just kind of general settings that I would recommend for people to at least try out. If your computer's having trouble running these settings, I would just scale them down. I would start with anything to do with shadows. I would turn that down before I would turn anything else down because I feel like shadows are probably some of the most demanding things on your PC. I could, of course, be wrong. I'm sure some nerd will correct me. But anyway, guys, that is what I like to run on my game. And that is what I would recommend to try on your PC. As long as you have, a semi-decent PC. If you have a laptop with integrated graphics, then obviously I wouldn't recommend trying very high settings and like ultra everything. So I hope that goes without saying, but for some people it probably doesn't. Anyway, guys, I hope you found this useful. I hope you found this entertaining somehow. If you did, a like is always appreciated. Dislike if you didn't learn anything, or if you didn't like the video, or probably if you're a nerd who's corrected me like 24 times by now and has written 3 essays in the comments down below already about how I'm actually wrong about this specific detail and that this actually does something else. You guys get the picture. Subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.